moral of the story is we need to talk about A Little Life, this magnificent masterpiece. And yes, the light in here is shit, but fuck that. You're not here for the light, you're here for the book. So I've previously made a video about it, trying to eat like Jude ate, at least what he was supposed to eat in one day, and that opened up a few doors about the character. Like he needs a burger or two, or a feeding tube. I'm going to try and review the book itself, because while the plot is interesting, the book is not the best. It's not written in a way that... how to say it? Obviously no book is perfect, but the way A Little Life is written is not the best text, if I'm making sense. Throughout the book there's a lot of he's, like he did this, he did that, and those pronouns could be replaced with literally anything, with a name, with a character's trait. Instead of saying he walked up the stairs for 500 times, it's a lot better to say the engineer walked up the stairs, or even Bob walked up the stairs. But when you write he did this, did that, 1, 2, 3, it gets tiring, it gets uninteresting. Especially when, in one chapter, the author writes about one character, refers to him as he throughout the whole page, and the next chapter, first line starts with he, so to us as readers, we assume that we're still about the old character. But actually, no, actually we're talking about somebody else completely. And at the end of the day, there are just so many he's that you can include in a page without the reader getting completely confused or uninterested. He's aside, I think one of the very first things I should have mentioned is that people refer to this book as torture porn or trauma porn, and honestly I can see why. Hanya Yanagihara did say that she wanted to write a book about a character who doesn't get better. But when you do that, in this way, and you write A Little Life, it can come off as torture porn. Because throughout the whole book, it already has a very negative tone to it. A very kind of a sad, depressive tone, which not many people signed up for. Any good things that happen to the main character are very brief and almost brushed off, but all the bad things that happen to the character, they are multiplied tenfold, if not 100-fold. And the author drags us through all the negative things that happen to the character, which are already a lot. We have like 700 pages of those. And you're not let go off with a little bit, oh yeah, that was very traumatic for the character. No, you're made to feel the fucking trauma. And we did not want this. That's why it's very difficult to actually believe the happy events that happen in Jude's life. Because we know that come the next page and he's gonna get tortured again, and we're gonna hear all the details about it for 3 pages. The book starts off with 4 characters, and we're introduced to each one of those characters very briefly, just a little bit of an intro for us to understand who they are and what they do. And that was done in a very interesting way, but that also prepared, well, at least it prepared me for a book that separates into 4 equal parts where we talk about each one of those characters separately. That's not what happens. If anything, one of the characters, Malcolm, we completely forget about him because he's just that boring to write about for the author, from what I presumed. And honestly, I can't blame her. Like, she created the perfect boring character. Nothing really goes on in his life, he's just there. It's clear to see that she doesn't really care about Malcolm, because, well, where is Malcolm? The more we read A Little Life, the more it narrows down towards Jude and Willem, and eventually just towards Jude. And that's not really great writing. because it makes the reader believe that you shoved in 2 additional characters just because you needed the extra pages. That can be one way to view it. Another way to look at it is that in life we see many people, we don't see one person particularly, we just include them as part of a picture. And we don't know what are the things they might have gone through, the things they experience, how they experience life, how they see life, and we will not find that out unless we move everybody else out of the way and focus specifically on this one person to understand them better, to see how they reason, how they go through life, what they've been through. You will not find out what a person has been through unless you push everybody else aside and talk to that one person specifically. So if that's what the author was trying to do, then fair play, that's been achieved. But I struggle to believe that that's actually what the author was trying to do. I genuinely think that she just didn't write through the characters. She developed a handful of characters that she liked, and the rest of them she didn't really go through with the development. Why do I think that? Because there is a scene where JB gets in trouble with a bit of the good stuff, the devil's lettuce, the devil's antibiotics, with drugs. JB as a character is presented as a very fierce, very tough character who doesn't give a shit, who thinks what about him. Suddenly, there's a guy, we don't know about the guy, but the guy who sells drugs to JB is suddenly a very intimidating figure, despite being not very intimidating visually, and JB is suddenly very scared of him. We don't know why. It's never written why. Is he intimidated and threatened by him because he knows that this is the only person who can feed his drug addiction? Does the dude just have dirt on him? Is he like reminding him of somebody from his past that he was also quite scared of? We don't know about that. He's just there. He's just meant to be scary. And I'm not the only one who felt that way. Like, I thought maybe I've overread the whole point of why JB was suddenly so scared of a drug dealer, but a quick Google search showed that actually other people also were a little confused as to why exactly is he suddenly so scared of a person. It's not written that straightforwardly. You're just supposed to figure it out for yourself. But if you're going to drag out the trauma of one character and just quickly jump over the trauma of a different character, the reader's not going to get it. Because at this point, you're presenting the trauma dragging out as your style of writing. So if you don't do the same for all of your characters, people are going to be left confused. They're going to be expecting that there's a clarification somewhere in the future chapters, and there isn't one. But honestly, I feel very little sympathy for JB as a character because he's just so selfish and doesn't give a shit about whether he's hurting his friends' feelings. I, for one, don't understand why they kept him in their friend group. I really don't. But moving on, I also feel like a point that the book was trying to make as well is that Willem never really loved Jude with all his capacity, because when there's that scene of a car crash, instead of thinking of Jude as somebody who joins him in the afterlife, he thinks of his disabled brother. So to me, the way I see it is that Willem didn't love anybody as much as he loved his brother. Which, yeah, was sad. torture porn. So any flicker of hope, any chance that things might get better for Jude get very quickly destroyed. And whenever something good does happen in future chapters, you don't hope for a happy ending. You just know this is gonna end badly. And it does. It ends pretty badly. It ends with the main character's death. But also what I think, and I've got mixed feelings about this, is when the author basically foreshadowed the end of the book. When Jude and Willem tell JB that they're dating, JB gets very jealous of that because he's a shit friend, and he notices a book that, I think it was Jude who was reading that book, but JB sees that book and he says, "Oh, you're reading so-and-so, huh?" Or like, "Yep, that's what I'm reading." Well, the main character, who's a lawyer, dies at the end. Guess who else is a lawyer? Our boy Jude. So from that point on, it was, well, at least to me, it was pretty clear how that's gonna end. The reason why I've got mixed feelings about this is because on one hand, that's clever, but on the other hand, you just ruined the book for us. Because I don't think that people wouldn't be able to make that connection that, oh, we're talking about character in a book who's a lawyer and he dies at the end, just like the main character who is also a lawyer. I wonder what's gonna happen at the end. So from that point on, I would say it's very safe to not read the book anymore because, yeah, the author ruined it for you. And of course, the author just had to write out in detail how Jude dies exactly, how it was very painful and not an easy death. So he doesn't even get a peaceful death after all the shit that he's been through in life. And of course, he has to suffer, because it's torture porn. Despite all of that, I have enjoyed the book for the plot. It's not a typical book, it's not a typical plot, I should say. Most of the books, they have a happy ending, so yeah, she did what she was trying to do, and she did it pretty successfully. She wrote about a character who doesn't get better. Off the top of my head, I can't think of many modern books that have a bad ending, where the main character doesn't get their revenge arc or doesn't end up with the life that they've always dreamed about. Most books have a happy ending except for A Little Life, where the ending is quite sad. All in all, would I recommend this book? No. I don't think I can recommend this book to anybody because it's 700 pages of pure negativity and you have a lot better things to do with your life than read 700 pages of a person having a terrible life. If you don't mind reading people having terrible lives, then yeah, sure, you can give it a read. It's okay. I would think I would give it a score of 3 out of 5 in a nicest way possible. And with that being said, my pigeons died. One of them flew away. And this is my new hobby.